Iron Man. Okay, so it's safe to say that Iron Man 2 has some pretty huge shoes to fill. Not only was Iron Man 1, in my opinion, one of the coolest movies of '08, but one of the coolest comic book movies ever made. So now the expectations for Iron Man 2 are just bigger than yeah, they're enormous. And it's safe to say that any movie to meet those expectations would pretty much be impressive, if not really freaking difficult. Now, Iron Man 2 did have its good and bad. Like I said, Robert Downey Jr., he's just great. They did some stuff with the character of Tony Stark I wasn't really a fan of, but, I mean, the guy delivers. What can you say? And Sam Rockwell plays an arms dealer who's like the opponent of Tony Stark. I thought he was really good in the movie. He delivers one of the funniest monologues in the entire movie as he's showing off a bunch of weapons. I laughed out loud. Props to you, Sam Rockwell. You were also great in Ninja Turtles. And Scarlett Johansson, she's pretty much the hottest woman on the face of the planet. Yeah, she's gonna be on your mind after this movie. Damn. This chick, old news. But Scarlett, yeah. And I don't feel bad about saying that because that's the reason she was thrown in the movie. Her job in Iron Man 2 is to be hot, period. And she does her job well. And Mickey Rourke was cool, and the scene that he did anything in. The same goes with Don Cheadle as Rhodey. But Sam Rockwell's like the bad guy in this movie. And some of the things I didn't like, well, the story does seem pretty convoluted. And I don't think it's because of all the characters that are in the movie, it's all the story arcs that are in the movie. I mean, if Tony Stark were just battling the bean counters in Washington, D.C. and trying to keep the Iron Man suit out of the hands of the arms dealers, I mean, that would have been just fine right there, but there are about 4 to 5 other plot lines that Tony Stark's dealing with in the movie also. It just makes it feel all cluttered. I mean, look at Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 was the story of one guy with a bit of a narcissistic nature, but that's why we love him, who finds out the dark side of the business he deals in, so he makes a personal change within himself while he's in captivity, and makes an oath when he gets out. I want to protect the people I put in harm's way. Sounds good. But the whole time he doesn't lose that Han Soloism that makes him him. He's like Han Solo if Han Solo was a billionaire weapons expert. But in one of the overly abundant story arcs in Iron Man 2, it shows Tony Stark being all self-destructive and drunk. You know, it's kind of pathetic to watch. You just watch it and you're like, Tony Stark. There's some respect for Tony Stark. It's not Tony Stark. It's not Iron Man. It's like Iron Man's drunk, douchey stepbrother twice removed. And I will say this now, even though I know I'm going to get comments about it later. I know that this is a story arc that's dealt with in the comic books, and I know that there's a story-based reason for it happening in the movie. I'm just saying, watching Tony Stark, the character that we all loved and connected with in the first one, all down in the dumps in the dark part of his life, all self-destructive style for an hour and 45 minutes is just kind of a drag. And yes, I know that in sequels, the character needs to be challenged in ways that he wasn't challenged in the first one. But you can challenge him without making him kind of douchey, that's all. His attitude in this movie is that he doesn't give a fuck. And because of that, you don't either. That's all I'm saying. And okay, now the dialogue. There are scenes where the dialogue is well written and well delivered in this movie. But then there are other scenes where the dialogue's being delivered at the same time, like 2 people are talking at the exact same time, and it just feels like this. Are you listening to me? Okay, then go to the press conference. You know, you can't. I mean, you can't skip the press conference. You have to go to this thing. All right, or Iron Man. All right, you need to go be a hero and stuff. You can't have. Yes, I'm listening to you. All right, are you listening to me? I swear to God, I'm not getting into a block of cheese. Crazy. All right. Oh my God. Yes. I got you. I got you. But the climax of the movie was cool. We all saw it in the trailer where War Machine and Iron Man are just thrown down with a bunch of mechs. It was cool, fun, exciting, until it abruptly ended in a 45-second fight with the main bad guy. So I won't tell you not to see this movie. That would be impossible. Everyone's going to see this movie. You have to after watching Iron Man 1. And it's not horrible. It's not like Spider-Man 3 or anything. It's just not like Spider-Man 1, 2, X-Men 1, 2, Iron Man 1. Either of the Nolan Batmans. Better than X-Men 3, I think. Whereas the first one stands out. You think cool comic book movie or cool comic book hero, you think Iron Man. But in a world where sequels are rarely as good as the original, this one's just kind of par for the course. So it's a fun movie that's a bit convoluted, and if you're skeptical about the movie because the studio made Jon Favreau rush it out in 2 years instead of 3, which actually did happen, then it might just be what you expect. But if you're thinking right now, okay, but what movies does this Jeremy guy like? What movies doesn't he like? Is he a total douchebag? Then watch my other videos by clicking here.